You're wondering why I went on that date with my husband? Let me say it plainly, because people are angry and I understand why. I didn't go because I thought it was a date. I didn't go because I wanted to test anything. I went because when you discover the person planning your death is the person you sleep next to, your brain doesn't instantly turn into a security expert. It freezes, it panics, and it reaches for the one person you've trusted to pull you out of fire before. Kemi. That was my mistake. Because I didn't know one thing yet. A secret is no longer a secret once one person knows. And the moment I told Kemi, my husband wasn't guessing anymore. He knew. And once Femi knew I knew, he moved faster than my fear could think. That's why he changed the route. That's why he switched tactics. That's why he didn't try to talk things out. He tried to erase me, and the trap worked. When I opened my eyes again, I didn't wake up to my husband holding my hand. I woke up to pain, a deep, full-body pain that felt like my bones were arguing with each other. The light above me was too bright. My throat was dry. My head throbbed like a drum. I tried to sit up and something in my ribs screamed. I gasped and fell back. A nurse rushed over immediately. "Madam, calm down, calm down. You had a serious accident." Accident. That word hit me like a slap. My mouth tasted like metal. My lips were cracked. I lifted my hand and saw a cannula taped to my skin. I tried to speak, but my voice came out thin. Where am I?" The nurse looked relieved that I was awake. "Hospital," she said. "They brought you in as an emergency. Road traffic accident. You're lucky you survived." Lucky? I almost laughed. If survival was luck, then death was a schedule. My eyes darted around the room. No familiar face, no Femi, no Kemi, no phone. My heart started pounding. "Where is my phone?" I whispered. The nurse frowned. "We didn't find any phone on you. Maybe it fell during impact. Try not to worry, okay?" Try not to worry. As if my husband wasn't outside somewhere calculating the next move. As if the men who staged it hadn't vanished into the dark. I swallowed hard and forced my voice steady. "I need to call someone." The nurse hesitated. "We can help you later. Rest first." Rest. The word sounded like a joke. Because my body was on a bed, but my mind was still on that road. Headlights, horn, glass, blood. Then the door opened. A man walked in. Not a doctor. Not a nurse. A police officer. Uniform. Cap. Boots. He carried a small notepad like he'd come to tick a box. The nurse straightened quickly. "Officer." He nodded once and walked to my bedside. "Madam," he said, tone flat. "We need your statement. It was an accident, yes?" His wording wasn't a question. It was a direction. My skin prickled. Because my first thought wasn't relief. My first thought was, which police? Because I learned the hard way, some stations are compromised, some officers are bought, some uniforms are costumes. I stared at him. He didn't look concerned. He looked impatient, like I was delaying paperwork. I licked my dry lips. "My husband," I began. The officer cut in smoothly. "Your husband already called. He said you and him were on your way to Lekki. He said the road was bad." My heart slammed. Femi had already spoken. So he knew where I was. And if he knew where I was, then this hospital wasn't a safe place. It was a location. My fingers curled into the bedsheet. "How did he know I'm here?" I asked carefully. The officer shrugged like it was nothing. "Lagos is Lagos," he said. "Ambulance people talk. Road safety people talk. It's normal." Normal. Nothing was normal. The officer flipped his notepad and leaned slightly closer. "So, madam, you confirm it was an accident, yes? So we close it." Close it? That word landed heavy, because it sounded like the plan wasn't finished, just paused. I forced my face calm. I forced a weak nod like an injured woman who didn't want stress. "Yes," I said softly. "It was an accident." The officer nodded, satisfied, like that was all he came for. Then he turned to leave. But before he walked out, he said something that froze my blood. "Try not to accuse anybody anyhow," he said casually, almost like advice. "Igo cause wahala." Don't accuse anybody. Don't cause wahala. Translation: stay quiet. When he left, I lay there staring at the ceiling. My body was shaking, but not from pain, from realization. The crash didn't end the danger, it only moved it into a brighter room. A few minutes later, the door opened again. This time it was Kemi, and when I saw her, something inside me finally loosened. Relief washed over me so fast my chest hurt, because in that moment I wasn't thinking about betrayal or danger. I was thinking, at least one person who loves me is here. She walked in quickly, eyes wide, breath uneven, like someone who had been running on panic alone. "Amaka!" she breathed, rushing to my bedside. "Oh my God! Thank God! Thank God!" She grabbed my hand immediately, squeezing it tight. Her hand was cold, shaking. "I've been calling," she said quickly, words tumbling over each other. "I called and called. Nobody could tell me anything. I went to 2 hospitals before someone finally said you might be here." Tears filled her eyes. "I was so scared," she whispered. "I thought I'd lost you." And I believed her. In that moment, I believed every word. I squeezed her hand back weakly. "I'm here," I whispered. "I'm alive." She nodded rapidly, wiping her face. "Thank God," she said again. "Thank God." For the first time since I woke up, my heart slowed, because whatever was happening, Kemi was here. My friend. The one person I trusted. Just then, Kemi's phone buzzed. She stiffened. Not dramatically. Just enough. She glanced at the screen and her face changed so fast I almost missed it. She stood up abruptly. "I need to take this," she said, voice thin. "Just a second." And she walked out into the hallway. I didn't panic, not even a little, because I told myself, she's just overwhelmed. She's been searching for me all night. I lay back against the pillow, exhausted. Then the nurse walked back in. She came to check my vitals, blood pressure cuff, thermometer, that calm hospital face like nothing in the world is urgent. "Madam, try relax," she said softly, adjusting the cuff around my arm. I nodded, and that's when I heard it. Kemi's voice, through the half-open door, not loud, like she didn't want to be heard, but the corridor was quiet, and hospital walls don't protect secrets. "I did what you said," Kemi whispered, voice shaking. "She went." Pause. Then her voice dropped even lower. "She's alive. Yes, she's in the hospital." Another pause. Then the words that made my blood turn to ice. "Please, please don't release it. Please don't expose me." My heart slammed so hard it hurt my ribs. The nurse was still tightening the cuff on my arm, completely unaware that my whole world had cracked open again. My eyes locked on the door. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe properly, because in that moment I didn't guess Kemi was involved. I heard it. I heard my best friend begging, not for my safety, but for her secret. The nurse finished and smiled gently. "Your BP is high," she said. "Try calm down, okay?" Calm down. I almost laughed, because calm is what people tell you to do when they don't know you're sitting beside betrayal. A few seconds later, Kemi walked back in. Her face looked exactly the same, shaky, worried, pretending. And if I hadn't overheard that call, I would have believed her. But now I saw the truth sitting behind her eyes. When she came back into the room, I didn't scream. I didn't accuse her, not yet. I looked at her with a calm so cold it scared even me. "Kemi," I said softly. "Who were you talking to?" Kemi froze. Her eyes searched my face. Then she tried a smile, small, weak. "Nobody," she lied. And that lie was louder than my screams on that road. I held her gaze. Kemi, I said again, voice steady. I heard you. Her shoulders sagged, and just like that, the woman who had been my sister, my confidant, my "will survive this" partner, collapsed. She covered her mouth and started crying. Not the cute crying people do to get sympathy, the ugly kind, the guilty kind. I didn't want this, she sobbed. Amaka, I swear I didn't want this. I didn't move. I didn't comfort her, because comfort was what she expected. Instead, I asked the only question that mattered. Why? I said. Kemi wiped her face quickly, shaking. He found out, she whispered. My stomach clenched. Found out what? That you knew, she said. That you were suspicious, that you were checking things. My heartbeat spiked. How? I demanded. Kemi swallowed hard. He saw your phone, she admitted. One of those nights. He woke up and saw the police contact on your screen. He didn't confront you. He watched you. Then he changed the plan. So it was true. The moment I told Kemi, the chain started pulling tight. Kemi's voice trembled. After that, he came to me, she whispered. Not you, me. She looked up at me with eyes full of fear. He said, Kemi, I have something on you. I felt sick. Kemi nodded, crying harder. My brother, she whispered. Years ago, I helped him. I used my work access to fix something. Documents. It was wrong, Amaka. It was illegal. If it comes out, my brother goes down and I go down with him. My jaw tightened. And Femi had it, Kemi said, voice cracking. He had proof. He said he got it through someone at his insurance company. He told me, if you don't help me control Amaka, I send it straight to the authorities. I stared at her. My voice came out like a blade. So you chose yourself. Kemi flinched. I was scared, she whispered. I laughed once, dry, pained. Scared? I said. I was the one sitting in a car with men waiting outside. I was the one screaming. I was the one bleeding. Kemi sobbed. I didn't think they would crash the car, she whispered. I thought... I cut her off immediately. No, I said, voice rising. Don't do that. I leaned my head back on the pillow and stared straight at her. You knew he wanted me dead, I said slowly, each word clear. And you still played along. Kemi shook her head violently. Amaka, I didn't let her. The day I realized my husband was planning to kill me, I continued, I ran to you. I confided in you. I told you because I trusted you. Kemi's eyes squeezed shut. And you, I whispered, voice shaking now, not from weakness, from anger. You became his messenger. Kemi reached for my hand again. I pulled away. So whether I lived or died didn't matter, I said, voice low. As long as your secret stayed buried. She collapsed into herself. I'm sorry, she cried. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I stared at her through the sting in my eyes. Sorry doesn't rewind time, I said. Then I took a slow breath. Because right then, another truth hit me. One that made my skin crawl. If the officer who came earlier was steering the story toward accident, then Femi wasn't just dangerous. He was connected, which meant my husband could walk into this hospital at any time and finish what the crash started. I looked at Kemi, voice steady again. Who else knows I'm here? I asked. Kemi froze. Who? I repeated. She swallowed, eyes wet. Femi, she whispered, and someone he knows in the police. My stomach dropped. So I wasn't safe. Not in the hospital. Not with my family. Not with my friend. I was surrounded. I forced my voice calm. Kemi, I said softly, listen carefully. She nodded, scared. You are going to help me, I said. Not because you love me. Because you owe me. Kemi's face crumpled. And if you don't, I added, then when they come for you, I won't lift a finger. Kemi nodded quickly. I will help. I stared at the ceiling, mind racing through pain. It wasn't enough to tell the truth. because the wrong people could bury truth. I needed proof. Receipts. The kind that could speak even if I couldn't. I swallowed hard. "Kemi," I whispered, "where is the evidence? The voice notes, the second phone, the insurance papers. Where did Femi keep them?" Kemi's eyes widened. "Amaka," she breathed, "if you do this, you'll destroy him." I turned my head and looked at her. My voice was calm, final. "He already tried to destroy me." Kemi nodded slowly, defeated. I know where he keeps some things," she whispered. "In his office? And the phone? Sometimes in his bag." I closed my eyes. Pain pulsed behind my forehead. But my mind was clear for the first time since this started, because now I understood something simple. Femi wasn't powerful because he was smart. He was powerful because people stayed quiet, because they were afraid to be first. But once I had receipts, real receipts, this stopped being gossip. This stopped being marriage wahala. This became a case. I opened my eyes and stared into the bright hospital light, and in that moment, I made a promise to myself. I wasn't surviving to heal quietly. I was surviving to expose everything, even if the police were compromised, even if my best friend betrayed me, even if my husband came back to finish the job, because if I stayed silent, I wouldn't just die. I'd disappear, and I refused.